Alright guys, in this video I want to show you how to build some shelves for your garage or work area, and I'll show you how to do that next. Alright guys, the first thing we're going to do is start cutting up the boards. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. Essentially this is 10 feet long and 8 feet high. On these 2x4 by 10 feet, we're going to cut 7 inches off these 10 footers, because each 2x4 is 3.5 here and 3.5 on that side. So that's 7 inches we got to cut off the 10 footers to make it exactly 10 feet long, the shelves anyways. The ones going up, we don't have to do nothing to those. So yeah, let me show you how to do that next. Alright, what we're going to do now is we need to take 7 inches off these 10 foot 2x4s. So, measure from the other end. So 10 feet is essentially 120 inches minus 7, and gives us 113. Now, I would suggest measuring it from the end to be exact, because don't assume these are 10 feet long, because I'm actually getting 10 and 3/8, 10 feet and 3/8 of an inch long. Yeah, so an extra 3/8 inches. So measure from the end and get an exact measurement that way. Then we'll mark it nice and square. You don't need a miter for this. I mean, it'd be better if you did, but a regular, you know, like a skill saw or something, that'll work. A hand saw, whatever you have, it'll work. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up the rest of these. I'm going to need 2, 4, 6, 8 of these. And after that, we're going to start cutting the ones that go on for the width of the shelf. Alright, now we're going to cut the width, the supports for the width of the shelves. Since the shelves total length is going to be 24 inches, you have to account for the width of the 2x4, which is actually 1.5 inches. So 1.5 inches is 3 inches, so that's 21 inches. So it's 24 minus the 3 gives you 21 inches. So we got to cut those up. Mark that up. And I'll cut the rest of these up here. I'm going to need, let's see, 2, 4, need 8 of these also. Actually more, because I got supports and stuff underneath. So I'll cut the rest of these up, and then we will start building it. Alright guys, I have the main structure of the 2x4s cut. I got the 10 footers there. Those are cut. And I got the other 2x4s cut to 21 inches. That's the width of the shelves. And we're going to start putting it together now. Alright, I want to show you a couple things before we get started. This brand here is a Simpson Strong Tie. These are the ones that go in the corners that hold everything together. They're just fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But I've noticed Lowe's sells this one here, and it's made by USP Structural Connectors is the name of the company. And you can obviously see the difference. I mean, these are a lot stronger and more heavy duty than the Simpson Strong ties. Here we only have one screw, where this has two to hold the 2x4 going lengthwise. So yeah, I'd go with these here if you want something really strong and solid. But again, there's nothing wrong with these. These will work just fine. So I just thought I'd let you guys know that they're heavier duty, the ones at Lowe's. And the name of the company here is USP Structural Connectors. Okay, so, and one more thing. The screws that I use are these right here. 1.25 inches. At least get them an inch, but 1.25 inches is better. That way they won't go through the 2x4, but you'll get as much bite to each screw as possible. They're a flathead. Let's see if I can show that in the camera. Okay, they're flathead, and they work really good with these. Okay, they work excellent, and I've used them, and they're extremely strong. So let's get started. All right, one more quick note. Those corner ties that I showed you, those heavier duty ones, I put those on the bottom and on the second shelf. And the Simpson Strong ties, I put more on the third and the top shelf up there. Again, there's nothing wrong with those, but I know these are stronger, so you can put more weight on their bottom shelf and on the second shelf and not have to worry about anything. So yeah, you can do that at least, or make them all with those. The reason why I went this way is because I already had bought the Simpson Strong ties and they ran out, so I went to Lowe's to get some more, but they had a different brand, and I said, wow, these are stronger, so I'll put these on the bottom and the other ones on top. So just letting you know. All right, now we're going to start putting on the corner ties. So we're going to put them on each end. All right, so on these Simpson Strong ties, I noticed, get yourself a piece of scrap 2x4. In order for this top 2x4 to be level with the top here, this gap here is going to be 1.5 inches. So we're going to do that. And then with the bottom one, that one's just going to go right to the floor. Basically, the corner tie here is going to go right at the end of the 2x4. And these here, we're going to have to space these out equally. Again, what you'll do is put a scrap piece of board 2x4 in there, on there and here, and measure between each one, and make sure you get equal distance, so your shelves will be all the same, you know, spaced apart equally. All right, so we're going to do that next. All right, on this one here, like I said, this one I just put right till that's right at the bottom here, even. So that's going to work out really good. And now I'm going to put a little scrap piece of 2x4 here and measure between each one and just figure out the distance between each one, how far it's going to be. All right, essentially what I did was I measured the distance from the top shelf all the way to the bottom one here, and it was like 90.5 inches. And I divided that by 3 because you got 3 shelves in the between for the spacing, and it come out to like 30 3/16. So I put these, you know, little scrap pieces here, and I measured 30 3/16 on each one, marked it, and now we're going to start drilling it and putting this leg together. All right, now we're going to start putting this together. So we're going to get some of our screws. Now, usually I like to pre-drill my holes, and what I do is I just get, I either measure with a pair of calipers in between the threads on your screws and measure the minor diameter, and you want to be at least that or a little smaller with your drill. Or you could eyeball it, just stick it on there like that and make sure it's smaller than the minor diameter, which is fine. And I like pre-drilling when I get close to the edge of the 2x4 because you know it's going to split. But if you're in the middle or ways, quite a ways from it, a few inches here, you'll be all right. But when you get close to the edge, you better pre-drill them. All right, let's get started here. I already have them marked where they're supposed to go. All right, we're going to do that all the way down to the rest of them, and on the other sides too, because there's screws on this side too. All right, I'm down to my bottom one here, and I got a screw and it's right by the edge here. So I'm going to pre-drill it because I don't want it splitting on me. There. There, I don't have to worry about it splitting. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is do this side. These got screws in them also. So let's start putting those in. You know, another thing I want to add is when you're getting your boards, your 2x4s, make really sure that they're straight and they're not warped or bent or twisted or whatever. Really important that they're straight. I had a little problem. I got 2 big box stores here in the nearest city, and I went to one, I'm not going to name it, but and it's not their fault, it's their supplier. I went to get some of the 10-footers and I couldn't find a straight one. They were twisted, bent, curved, whatever, but I couldn't find a straight one. And I gave up and I went to the other big box store and I couldn't even find one twisted or bent. It was amazing. You know, they were that straight. So it depends where they get them from. So that's very important. Just make sure that they're not bent, warped, twisted, or whatever. Alright, we just got a few more down at the bottom here. Alright, last one. I'm going to pre-drill this last one. Alright, I'm going to do the rest of them this way, and then we'll start putting it together. Alright, what I did is I put the bottom part of the shelves together just to hold everything up, so nothing's going to fall right now. I'm going to continue on and connect the rest of the boards together and start putting this thing together. Once you get the bottom ones connected, everything else goes together pretty quick. All right. And these here go here. All right, we'll worry about the top one later. I'll have to get my ladder. And we're just going to start putting this thing together. I'm going to pre-drill this one. Now once you've done all the outside screws, like I'm doing here, on the inside here there's more to do. So there's a lot of screws in this thing, and it does take a while to put up, but it's much stronger and it's much better than nails. Good. All right, and the inside corner, we got screws to put in here also. Okay. Best to do the inside corner, pulls everything tight. Believe it or not, that is a solid corner right there. And when you get all of them tight, this thing does not move. All right, I put it together. And now what I've been doing is putting these supports in. So I've been measuring this distance here and putting support in, and we're gonna put our plates now. So I'll show you how to do that. All right, what we need to do is find the center of the shelf. So we know it's 10 feet long. I'm going to come over here, and what I did is just put a line here at 5 feet. and then this is where the 2x4, the width of the 2x4 here, and that's where the boards are going. It doesn't have to be, as you know, it's not rocket science, so as long as you're pretty close, it's good. And again, the only thing, these boards here are holding the weight of the shelf, so that's all they're going to be doing. Okay, here you're going to have to cut a piece of 2x4 approximately 2 inches in height. You'll have to measure it to make sure. We're ready to put our plates in. Okay, we're going to put it here, here, and all the way up. Now this little block here, it's a 2-inch piece. I would definitely suggest pre-drilling the holes because that probably will split. But first let's get this plate on there. So I'm going to put it on there, center it. Okay. And I'm just going to put one right here in the main 2x4 so I don't have to pre-drill that one. Okay, now that's not going to move. Now I'll get my drill. And my screws. On the very bottom, I'm putting just 2. You know, that's a small piece of wood. You start putting more than 2 on there, it's going to start splitting. So I'm just going to leave that alone. The rest of these up here, I'll probably put 4. And I'll be pre-drilling all these because these screws are going right at the edge of the 2x4 and I don't want nothing to split. Now we're going to get our plate. We want that plate nice and centered. And again, I'm just going to stick a screw on there just to hold it in place. And you just want to make sure it's center. Looks pretty good. All right. Now we're going to pre-drill. Here I'm going to put 4. And 4 here. Going nowhere. it's nice when you're that close to the edge and you pre-drill them, it won't split. Alright guys, this is what it should look like when you're done. At least 3 here in the middle, and then 4 in each one here is more than plenty. So now we're going to put the main supports on the inside for the shelves. Actually, it's only going to be 2. So we're going to do that next. Now, the next thing we have to do is start putting the plywood on for our shelves. As you know, these are 10 feet long. The sheets of plywood are only 8 feet. So what I'm going to do is measure from the end to 4 feet and put a support right here in the middle, and then another support down at 8 feet. Okay, that'll leave me 2 feet here to put a 2-foot square, basically, a piece. So, but on this end here, I'm putting it this way, the board. So when the 2 boards overlap each other, they'll have plenty of room for me to screw in the screws. So I'll show you how to do that. All right, so now I'm going to measure from the one end to 4 feet. Just mark it, put a mark right there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And that's where my 2x4 support's going to go. It's going to go just like that. And then I'm going to get some 3-inch decking nails. These here. And I'm going to use that to hold it. There. I'm going to put 1 more here, 2 more on the other side, and we should be all set for that support. And then 2 more on the other side. And make sure your board is right in center with that line you marked, and your screws. And hold your board, make sure it's level with the top. And that's it. And then we're going to put another one on this end. All right. Now on this end, like I said, the sheets are 8 foot long. So you do the same thing. Measure 8 feet. Because this is where the sheet of plywood is going to go, right at 8 feet here. And do the same thing on the other side. Now, like I said, the sheet's going to reach here, and then I have to put another piece here, another 2-footer. Now, 2 sheets meeting up against here. Personally, I don't know. I don't know if I like that width. I like it wider, so I'm putting it this way. When it lays a sheet on there, you have plenty of room to screw it in. So I'm putting it in this way. If you want, you can put it in this way. There's nothing wrong with that. And actually, it is stronger this way for weight-wise, but I mean, I don't think it's going to matter in this situation. So anyways, I'm putting them like that. Get your screws. Okay. Then we've got two more on the other side. All right, and I'm gonna finish up the rest of the shelves doing it that way. All right, now we're ready for our plywood. Now, if you don't have anybody helping you, if you can set up your table with boards on it like I have here, and you can come in with your saw right in the middle and it won't, you know, cut anything but your board. You can do it that way, which is what I'm going to do now. Even though I have my helper here. And make sure we're cutting right in the middle and not into the boards. All right, so we need a pencil now, my straight edge. And my tape measure. And since the plywood is 4 feet, we're gonna mark it 2 feet, right in the middle. Now they conveniently mark a line for you, but the line is so fat and distorted, you can't even follow it. So it's right at the edge of that line that they made. All right. All right. Now in this case, since I want it exactly in the middle, I'm going to cut right, the blade's going to be right on that line rather than over to one side. All right, now we need to cut the notches out where the 2x4s are. And that's fairly simple. On one end, it's going to be right in the corner, so get yourself a scrap piece of 2x4 and mark a line in the corner. Okay, and then over here we have to measure. All right, we're going to measure from the very end to that first board here. We have about 58 and about 58 and 3/8. I'm going to go 58 and a quarter, give it a little extra room. 58 and a quarter. All right, so we'll go 58 and a quarter. And then put your piece of 2x4 right where that 58 and a quarter line is that I just did. You make another outline. And that's where we got to cut that one out. And do the same thing on the other side. All right. Now, next thing we have to cut them out. Preferably, I would like to use a jigsaw for that, little handheld one. But I lent it out to a friend of mine, and so I don't have one. So I gotta use my next best jigsaw, which is my Sawzall. So we'll hang this over the edge. And we have to plug this in. Let's get the corners. And the last one over here. That's not too bad. All right, let's go see how that fits. All right, let's see how that fits. All right, it fits good. So I'm going to do the same for the rest of them, and then we're going to cut the end pieces. All right, now what I'm doing is I'm cutting the last part of the shelf, the last 2 feet of the shelf. So the remaining of the half of the remaining half of the sheet of plywood, I'm just going to cut in 2-foot sections. And then the only thing we have to do now is make our cutouts for the legs. And this is fairly simple because there's only 2 on the ends. Okay. I should have had these clamped down, but it's all right. And I'll do that for the rest except for the top one. The top one we won't need to do that. Okay, and this was the reason why I put these boards this way, the support boards here, rather than this way, because I have more area here to put my screws in. So when I'm putting this piece on, like that, I'll have plenty of room, because, I mean, you could put it the other way, it's not a big deal. But for me, it kind of is, because you're going to be right at the edge here. So this way I got plenty of room on each side to put it in, to put the screws in. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to start screwing these shelves down, and we should be done. All right, now I'm ready to screw on the shelves here. I'm going to be using they're number 6, 1 1/4 inch long coarse thread drywall screws. They're good because the lengthwise they're good. They'll go through this plywood and right into the 2x4 nicely. The drywall screws are okay. This is not going to be outside in the rain, so we don't have to worry about it rusting. Alright, let's start with one in the middle here. sure the end is where you want it here, right at the edge. I just noticed I forgot to put screws here. That's going to be the next thing I'm going to do. Okay. When I put screws in on something like a sheet of plywood, I always like starting from like either one end and then iron it out, or the top and work your way down, or whatever. Just as long as just don't go one end in here and one end over there, because you want to iron the board out so it gets ironed out, so you don't end up with a bow in it or something. And then I'm going to do that on each side all the way down on each shelf. All right, I should be done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed building the shelves. If you want to build some heavy duty shelves like this, I hope I've inspired you to do so. Takes a little while, but boy, you come out with some, you end up with some really nice shelves and very strong. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.